Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to kind of skip the glossy magazines, the polished trailers, and go straight to the source. We've got this incredibly candid interview with Netflix star Jason Miller.
Yeah, really interesting stuff in there.
Totally. We're aiming to extract the unfiltered truth about what it's actually like behind the scenes. From the chaos of the set to managing fame psychologically.
That's right. Our mission today really is like a shortcut to understanding what the entertainment industry machine is actually like.
Right.
We're not here for gossip. We're digging into the mechanisms of risk, resilience, and importantly, the creative trust needed to make these huge productions actually work.
Okay.
So we're pushing past the glamorous image and really zeroing in on the human side, the messy reality of it all.
And let's start with maybe what you, listening right now, would find most surprising if you just stepped onto one of these multi-million-dollar sets. Because we have this idea, don't we, that because the final show looks perfect, the process must be, perfect too.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's unpack that first contrast, the myth versus the reality of a TV set.
Yeah, and the source material, this interview, it just completely shatters that myth of meticulous control. Miller calls the set reality chaos masquerading as perfection.
Oh, okay.
So people picture, pristine silence, everyone hitting their marks perfectly. But according to him, the overwhelming reality is just constant high-speed logistical juggling, where human error is, it's everywhere.
Chaos is such a strong word for it. It really undermines that idea we have of slick Hollywood efficiency, doesn't it?
Completely.
He mentioned actors are constantly tripping over props, things falling, or they're cracking up mid-scene. And that energy, that sort of human failure, that's exactly what the editing suite is paid to erase.
That's the key insight right there. The sheer effort required to maintain the illusion of a seamless production is just enormous.
Yeah. Think about it. You've got lighting rigs, huge cameras, sound booms, dozens of crew members and actors trying to give a truthful performance while, trying not to fall over wires in the dark.
Right.
What looks like a totally casual, effortless conversation on screen, it probably took 8 takes.
8 takes? Why?
Well, maybe because someone's phone rang or a light bulb exploded, or as Miller points out, maybe the lead actor just couldn't stop giggling.
Okay, but I have to push back a bit here. If it's really that messy, doesn't that sound like maybe bad organization or, poor management? Why would they allow so much mess when the clock is ticking and it's costing so much money?
That's a fair question, a really critical one, actually.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the necessary speed of modern TV production.
Okay.
They're not shooting a 2-hour movie over 6 months. They're often blasting through a 10-episode series in maybe the same time frame.
Right. Much faster pace.
Exactly. So the chaos isn't usually because they're disorganized. It's more like an inevitable byproduct of trying to go fast and capture genuine human reactions in a totally artificial setting. Miller's point seems to be that the pressure to deliver quickly means there's just no time to wait for absolute perfection in every single take. They have to rely on the post-production crew to polish up the resulting human mess.
That really changes how you think about it. It's like a race against time where good enough chaos is okay because they know they can fix it later.
Pretty much.
And that anecdote he shared about the blooper, that really shows how vulnerable these supposedly controlled environments are to just random stuff happening.
It's a sneeze story. Yes. So Miller was apparently delivering this really serious, dramatic line.
Okay.
And his co-star, who was meant to be completely stoic, just sneezed. And not like a quiet little achoo.
Oh, no.
Like a full-on disruptive, scene-ruining sneeze.
And he admitted they had to redo that single moment 10 times because he couldn't stop laughing.
10 times. Locked in a giggle fit.
Yeah.
That spontaneous human reaction it broke the professional wall right there. Exactly. And the vulnerability there isn't just the laughing itself. It's the fact that in that super high-pressure situation, they actually allowed themselves to be human for a minute.
Right. They don't just get annoyed and move on.
No. They could have been frustrated, sure, but it sounds like they embraced the absurdity of it. And that willingness to break character and actually take the extra time for 10 takes. It shows a production culture that, despite all the chaos, maybe values a certain level of human authenticity, even if it messes with the schedule.
That's actually a perfect segue into our next section. Because if human spontaneity can mess with the physical reality of the set, it can definitely mess with the creative reality of the script too. And this is where I think it gets really interesting. Let's talk about unscripted magic and the risks they have to take on set.
Yeah, moving from the sort of physical mess to the creative flexibility. Miller shared something, he called it a confession, that's actually pretty common across a lot of TV shows. Lines often get improvised. Okay, improvising lines. maybe not that shocking. Right, but the real deep dive nugget here isn't just that they improvise. It's the implied trust structure that actually lets it happen.
Okay, explain that.
Yeah.
Because, everyone knows actors goof around between takes. But he specifically said the writers just roll with it, and those spontaneous lines actually make it into the final episode. I mean, we're talking huge budgets, multi-million-dollar shows. Why would the writers, the people who probably agonized over every single word, just let actors rewrite their stuff on the fly like that?
Well, it points to the core dynamics of a really collaborative, high-performing creative team. When Miller says the writers roll with it, he means they've built up this level of trust. Where the whole creative team understands that the actor who's like living inside that character's skin day in and day out might occasionally stumble upon a line that's funnier or more truthful or just fits the moment better than what was originally on the page.
Yeah, so it's less about the writers being, lazy or overridden, and more about them acting almost like smart editors who see the value in structured spontaneity.
Precisely. You nailed it. It's like an intellectual risk calculation, right? The cost of a bad improvised line, it's tiny. They just go back to the script. No big deal. But the potential benefit of a perfect unscripted line, that can be massive.
Right.
Miller pointed out that some of the funniest, most quoted lines from his show were completely spontaneous. Never in the original script. That's where that unexpected magic often comes from.
So we connect this back for you, the listener. It means success in these creative, high-pressure fields isn't always about rigidly sticking to the plan, is it?
Not at all.
It's more about designing a system, whether it's a writer's room or any kind of team that's resilient enough to handle a bit of risk and flexible enough to actually capitalize on those moments of genius when they pop up, even if they weren't scheduled.
Absolutely. I mean, if you run any kind of team or organization that needs innovation, you have to build in that trust, that margin for error. So your actors, your experts on the ground feel empowered enough to deviate from the plan if they spot a breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
The writers who just roll with it, like Miller described, they're the ones who often end up with those classic lines that define a whole series,
That willingness to shift from the neat, organized script to the potentially messy, improvised line, it perfectly mirrors that other shift, doesn't it? From the controlled set environment to the uncontrolled reality of public life.
Good point.
So let's talk about that navigating the spotlight and what he called the wild ride of social media attention.
Yeah, and this is where the psychological cost of the job really comes into focus. Miller framed his whole relationship with social media as this difficult balance.
Okay.
He loves connecting with the fans, apparently. That feedback loop, it's gratifying. But he was also super candid about how the negativity can get overwhelming.
Which isn't exactly surprising these days, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting is the strategy he's developed to actually manage that onslaught. He said it's kind of two things. First, making an active choice to focus on the positive, and second, trying to keep it real. And that choice, focusing on the positive, it's basically a necessity for staying sane and having longevity in that profession. It's not just a casual preference.
Right.
In a world where every single metric and comment is right there staring you in the face, actively filtering out the noise is a genuine cognitive skill you have to develop. By choosing to prioritize the positive stuff, he's basically safeguarding his mental health, and just as importantly, he's building a public persona that's rooted in resilience.
But what does keeping it real actually mean? In this age of hyper-curated Instagram feeds and everything, is it just talk or is there something more to it?
Well, based on the interview, it sounds like it means being honest about the struggle itself.
He's not pretending fame is all sunshine and rainbows. He's sharing the truth that, dealing with nasty comments is actually part of the job description now. And that level of transparency, that honesty, that seems to be what audiences increasingly crave today. They don't want the perfect, polished facade all the time. They connect with the messy human being we were talking about earlier, the one tripping over props.
Right.
It builds trust, basically. And trust is probably the most valuable currency for modern celebrity culture.
And that focus on authenticity, on acknowledging the mess, it leads us right into the single most important piece of insider advice he gave for anyone aspiring to any kind of high pressure career, really. Yeah, the core message was super clear, and it was all about mindset. He just said, don't be afraid to fail, seriously.
Okay, yeah, it sounds a bit like something you'd see on a motivational poster, maybe.
It does initially, but coming from someone whose failures could potentially be globally public and massively amplified, it carries a bit more weight, doesn't it? True. I was a little skeptical when I first read that part because you hear embrace failure everywhere now. But his reasoning, his rationale, it kind of elevates it beyond the cliche.
How so?
He ties it right back to life on set, saying that every mistake, every flubbed take, every improvised line that just falls flat on its face is actually a necessary lesson.
Exactly. And that willingness to fail, that's a prerequisite for innovation, for success. In creative fields especially, if you're too scared of failing.
Yeah.
You just stick rigidly to the script. You play it safe. And you never hit that breakthrough, spontaneous moment we talked about. He's basically advising people to embrace the same kind of chaos we discussed on set.
Right.
The ability to take a risk, maybe fall flat, but then bounce back. That proves resilience.
Right.
And resilience is arguably the single most valuable trait you can possess in an industry, basically defined by brutal rejection and often very temporary success.
So it's like vulnerability and taking risks. They aren't just like nice side effects of success. They're actually required for success.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to be the guy who sneezes mid-take.
Yeah.
Or improvise a line that might totally bomb. Or open yourself up to potentially savage public criticism online. Because those moments where you're exposed, that's actually where the biggest breakthroughs often happen.
It's the perfect summary of this whole deep dive, really.
Yeah.
The polished final product you see on Netflix or wherever. Yeah. It's not usually the result of perfect, flawless execution from day one.
No.
It's the result of tireless, messy, human effort trying to recover from constant, inevitable human error and failure.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We started with the physical chaos of the set, props everywhere.
The tripping hazards.
Yeah. Then we moved to the creative trust needed to actually allow for improvised genius.
Right, letting go of the script sometimes.
And we ended up with the psychological resilience you need to manage the fame that comes with it and handle that fear of failure.
And the real insight here for you, the learner, is that high-level success in pretty much any field, whether it's Hollywood or, a corporate boardroom, it seems to be built less on achieving technical perfection and more on the ability to embrace and navigate all those unscripted moments, the humor, the resilience, the sheer messiness of people working together.
Which brings us perfectly to our final provocative thought. And this comes directly from Jason Miller's intense focus on taking risks and the necessity of failure.
Tell me.
If some of the absolute best, most memorable moments we see on screen came directly from those spontaneous, risky, unscripted moments that absolutely could have been total failures, then what unscripted risk, or maybe even a past failure in your own life, might you be underestimating right now? Could that actually hold the key to your greatest future success?
Ooh, that's definitely something to chew on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the candid reality of celebrity life.
Yeah, great conversation.
We'll catch you next time.